Let me ask you this. How often do we hear people say, my goal is just to get in shape? No, man. No. Get in shape is not a training goal. You need to pick actual, legit training goals. To simplify it, there's only 4. That's what we're going to talk about today. There are 4 training goals that we're going to break down in detail and discuss. Once you choose your goal, that's how you determine how many sets, how many reps, and how heavy a weight to pick up. Goal 1, strength. This is one we're probably all pretty familiar with. And most people think, I want to lift weights to get strong. And you're right. The goal of strength is to get as strong as possible, to be able to produce as much force as one possibly can. Usually here, we're not overly concerned with speed, and we'll get to that in a second. The most common sport to think of when we think of training for strength specifically is powerlifting. They're going to test that 1 rep max on squat, deadlift, bench, the big 3. How much weight can one person move? To train strength, we're going to program 2 to 6 sets of less than 6 reps at a percentage at or higher than 85% of an individual's 1 rep max. On to our second goal. This is probably the rep scheme in which we see programmed the most often. Regardless of if people realize it, this is probably the rep scheme in which they're training in. And this goal is hypertrophy. Individuals training in this rep range have a tendency to be training more for looks rather than for their athletic performance. This is typically where we see bodybuilders and other aesthetic competitors training, as well as your client that just wants to look good for the beach this summer. How the body adapts to this specific training goal, more so than any of the others, is really reliant on metabolic balance. In other words, calories in versus calories out. To train hypertrophy, we are going to program 3 to 6 sets of 6 to 12 reps at an intensity between 67 and 85% of our 1 rep max. Goal 3 is likely our most confusing goal and probably the least commonly trained goal, or at least the goal in which the least amount of people have an interest in training. This goal is muscular endurance. Endurance training, when it comes to resistance training, is about challenging the muscle to contract as many times as it can under a low to moderate load. We most commonly see this in a rehab setting or when implementing mobility or prehab type exercises. To train endurance, we are going to program 2 to 3 sets of greater than 12 reps at an intensity below 67%. Occasionally, we will see this referenced as between 40 and 67%, but for the sake of following the NSCA protocols and keeping it simple, we're going to just say below 67%. On to goal number 4. Now this is where speed comes into play. Most sports require some amount of speed or explosive movements, or what if I want to program in an Olympic-based lift, like a clean or a snatch variation? Well, this is the 4th goal, and this is power. Power is the relationship between force and velocity. Oftentimes we think of this as how heavy a weight can you move without losing speed. Our most common example of this would be Olympic lifting, the clean and jerk, and the snatch. But we can program most movements for this goal, including the big 3. We also see within the goal of power many of our explosive movements programmed. These could be our box jumps, heavy explosive throws, and even some short sprints. To train power, we are going to program 3 to 5 sets of either 1 to 2 reps at an intensity between 80 and 90%, or 3 to 5 reps between 75 and 85% of 1 rep max. When it comes to programming non-Olympic movements, we need to keep in mind, though, that these higher percentages are relative to the point where the lift becomes slow and not the strength max. Let me know in the comments below what your current training goals are, and click the link here to find out why it is so important to choose the correct training goal for you or your athlete. Please click those like and subscribe buttons so we can share this information with more people. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.